Hey, welcome to another update on our little project that we're doing here. We are building, in the process of building and furnishing and getting into operation an inland resort. An inland resort, obviously we should have a swimming pool. Now, at the back there, you can see the wall. That's the perimeter, and then it goes up the back, and you can see more. I'll take you down. All of this area here is actually for what can I call it? Veranda, balcony. I called it a balcony, and our friend said it's not a balcony because the balcony has to be on the next floor. But if you look there, it's pretty high. If you look, and you can see how when the workers are here and they want to get rid of anything, they just throw it over the edge. These are Philippine type made up scaffoldings. And all of this, of course, has to be leveled. This is the septic tank for this building. Now over there, that's a very rough shed. We kept a lot of the materials for the job while it was being done in there, and there's leftover the materials there right now, and it's locked up and it's secure. So you can see a house there, and then you'll see the pillars that are going up, the same as these at the front look. Now that shows you how much space there is here. This is a pretty big area and enough space for quite a large size pool. Now what we did was, the first thing that you do when you come into a property and you bought, the main thing to do first is to get a fence around it, because if it's been used and there are various people living, like this is the blue roof is our friend Martin and his wife and family, and they're living up there. They've just built that beautiful house, absolutely perfect and all finished. I was very impressed how he managed to do that, given the difficulties in working with the Filipino workers. It can be problematic, and I'll show you why later. But our property goes up. That's our wall, goes right up to the corner there, where there's actually a big huge black boulder, and then it goes around the back of that boulder, and then it goes down there. Now this will be phase 2. Quite possibly it may be phase 2, 3 and 4, because it's quite an extensive thing. Over there you can see that there is a house. You can see the rooftop. That is just on the other side. If you look very carefully, probably you can zoom, and you'll see that our little fence goes right up there. Why would you bother about building a fence? Because encroachment is a problem. And as actually it's not just a Filipino thing, because I know that in the UK, if you allow someone to encroach onto your property and you do not stop him, and it just goes by year after year. When I was in the UK, the time frame on that was 7 years. So let's say that you had a little plot of land and it was on the corner of a street and the main road, and somebody approached you and said, "You're not using that little plot of land. Could I just park my car on there?" And of course you say, "Well, why not?" And you let him park his car there. And years go by, and he changes his car, and he keeps on parking his car. And after 7 years, he can contest the ownership of that piece of land. So in order to in order to stop him from doing that, one day in a year you must tie off that little piece of land, fence it off with barbed wire or whatever, and stop him from using it to re-establish your ownership and use of that piece of land. So, even in the UK, he would have squatters' rights. And all of this was very problematic because people are living so close to the edge of what is our property. So that's the reasoning, the logic behind going to all the trouble of making that fence. Goes all around the property. So, going back, what I really wanted to get into was this great disappointment now on our retaining wall. Now here's the issue. I watched the building of this structure that we are in now. I watched it very carefully, and all along the bottoms of these walls, they are reinforced, and they're reinforced the same as these upright pillars that they're all tied in on the bottom and on the top, and I've explained that many times, so if you've heard it before, you're probably nodding off to sleep now. Right, so we're on what will be like a little coffee bar area, and we'll put a little stand up here so that people can order coffee, and maybe we'll run electricity out here, and you can have I don't know, a taco or some little thing, a bowl of noodles or some little snack, and you can look out over onto what will eventually be a beautiful stage 2 of our inland resort. It also doubles as a stage, and we actually put on a really fun concert here where we tried to raise a lot of money. It turned out to be a lot of fun, and we used the talents and allowed our students to express themselves and everything. Everybody was very happy about it, but I don't think we made any money. Now this is what happened here, and why this has collapsed is because Filipinos do not believe in footings. Now in the UK, when I did work in the UK, it would require a meter down to dig down footings into a hard surface like this. You would have to go down a meter. So let's just say that meter would be to bring you up to here. So when we were building the main building, the inn part, that's where all of the rooms to let are. When we were doing that, I watched that very carefully and made sure that structurally it was overkill. Now, I was able to do that. Now, even as brave and as foolhardy as I am, I draw the line when I'm walking on uneven ground in which I could take a fall, because that also brings in, as you can see here, you can see where the water came. When this collapsed, the reason for it was we had an incredible downpour of rain, and that chewed into the ground here and over into here, and instead of being able to be handled by that hole, as you can see there, look, they did make an effort to allow for the drain off, but hardly enough. So this is all very uneven ground, easy to take a fall. When people say to me, as they do with good intentions, the best of intentions, why don't you get a lawnmower? Yes, can you Can you see a lawnmower working here? I don't think so, do you? So the water came off. Our plan is to put French drains at the front, but we hadn't thought that that was a problem. We're paying for that mistake now, and there's no need to remind us. What was it? Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, the cartoon, the little boy character, he's done something wrong, and his dad is scolding him, and he says to his dad, you know, no matter how bad you feel about something that you did wrong, somebody can always make you feel more and more guilty. And of course, we don't need to know anymore that we have made the mistake of doing other things that we should have attended to. So now I'm taking a bit of a chance, because we have actually had this sprayed with a killer that will stop the grass from growing. Now there's the actual site of where the footing should be, and I'm making sure that I don't join that wall by watching my footing. Now you can see they didn't join in this particular part of that horizontal beam. This is how the Philippines builds its stuff. This is how houses are built this way. They put these pillars in, and then while the pillars are, well, the reinforcing bar is there, and then they join it with horizontal pieces like this here. Look, you can see there that there's rebar laid horizontally as it goes up in courses of block. They're not known for doing nice, neat block work. That was pretty good over there, and it did survive, but it looks to me as if it's leaning anyway. So it's a bitter pill, but it happens, doesn't it? That little structure down there is our well. And these forms made up of rebar, these were much heavier duty when we laid them there on the inn part, the accommodation part of our inland resort, and we laid those on the ground, and we laid them into up to the knee footing, as I said, up to the knee there. So pretty secure, and we are in earthquake country, so it's possible that we could be hit by an earthquake as well as a typhoon. There's no place on earth that is totally safe. So if you look at this, I'm not going to be able to, maybe we can tie it into new stuff, but that will remain to be seen. There on the older part, you can see how the wall continues, and it continues down there and tucks away around the side, I believe. So between that and that wall up there, there's a kind of a spear shape that takes us to the house that I pointed out. I hope that I'm not pointing this at the sky while I'm waffling on. All of this used to be rice fields, so they even go down into here, rice fields. We've had all of this cleared twice. This is the second time, and it's already, even now, is overgrown, but the water drains away very, very fast. And you can see that if you watch one of the other videos where I showed what had happened to our wall, the Great Wall of Burgos, not so great now, you'll remember that this was actually about 5 or possibly 6 feet deep and very close to this dividing mound. But all of this grows, and it grows so fast. I've got a little burr inside my shoe. This is what the dogs bring home every time they come out here to do their toilet. They pick up these little things. They're like, look a little bit like some of those things, the Corona things, what do they call it? A spike protein. I think they took the drawing from these little things that the dogs pick up. So here, along here is where we would put over there and around, and that's where we would put the French drain. French drain, they use them a lot everywhere. Out on the road they use a French drain, and it handles all of the water very, very well. Here we've left a space up here between the concrete. Concrete has not turned out to be good. A problem that I find is that too much water is used in the concrete mix, and they keep throwing in the water, and they think that if it runs, which makes it easier to handle in many ways, they think it's good, but of course it's not. And if you look here, you'll see that part of what was the concrete mix has now come to the surface, and that watery mix has been washed away by the downpour, and that's what we end up with. So the next big hit for us, which would make a huge difference, apart from furnishing, which we're doing at the moment, we're furnishing, and so we do everything cash. When we got the money, we work hard to raise the money, and then we buy things cash, and we try to find the sales and get the deals, and that's how we manage to do it. The beauty of that is that nobody can come and take it away from you, as long as we can pay the taxes, of course. So, for those of you, and we have had, even as recent as a couple of days ago, we've had somebody say to me, address it to me, why would you do such a big project at your age? And as I said to that man, you will grow old very, very quickly, because part of staying young into your old age is to take on things which are a challenge to you. They are called reasons to live. And without a reason to live, why would you bother living? So all of this, I envision a row of buildings there which will be very similar to the front there. So imagine that row. Imagine that row of pillars made to measure and to fill this, and that would be parking and probably car workout repairs. I didn't want to do that with the integral. What started as the integral garage, we fitted those nice doors, sliding doors, and that is now to be my studio, which I wanted that. I wanted a nice clean area, and I wanted to be able to look out. I didn't want to be trapped in there, so that's what's... See, so now we don't have to do a driveway here. We don't have to block in on that. That's altered, and all of this can be landscaped, the same as all of this here. So we still have stuff to do on the house. You can see the cables that are jutting down. Those are all downlighters. Unfortunately, the way that the work is done here is if you're in the middle if you're in the middle of having work done, you have to get used to that. So for all of those people who, as I say, with the best of intention, tell us, yeah, well, what you should have done is you should have done this, or you should have done that, and it's Western thinking. If we were in the West, yes, what you're saying would be the way that we would go. But we're in the Philippines. You know, if you go in to buy an electric kettle into Alturas, the nearest thing that we've got to a mall here, if you go in there and get an electric kettle, they take it out of the box, they put some water into it, and they plug it in at a special little area where they try out anything electric. And they boil a little water. Now, sad to say, they don't make you a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. They just say, you see, it's working, and we never want to see your face again. That's your guarantee. How long is it guaranteed for? I think 1 day, or possibly just to the end of the drive. So, when you're telling me that it should be under warranty, get another team, you have to be here. And you'll note in the comments that there are people who are here and have very disappointing comments to make. It takes a certain kind of attitude to work with the workers here, because personally, it's only my guess, but I think that 50 or 60, 70 years down the road, we might still be looking at trying to bring the Philippines up to date in everyday dealings, right? There are so many things that are different, that are cultural. If you tell somebody 10 o'clock, when I was a musician in the UK, if I was booked for a gig to appear and play or sing at a particular gig with a band, and they told me 8 o'clock till 12, at 7:45 I would be there, dressed properly, with my instrument out and ready to walk on the stage at 7:45. And if I was late a few times, I'd never be booked again. That band leader would never be willing to book me again. And my reputation would quickly mean that I would spend some very rough times until I managed to reinstate myself for being reliable. So, I will end off, and thank you for being with me. I hope it's been of interest, you can see without a foundation you can build nothing that will last. That's why I'm very proud to say that we have built something to last there. And even for those who think I'm too old and past it, let me ask you one thing. You don't actually think that I do the work, do you? I tell people how I want it done, and when it's greatly important to me and to the integrity, the structural integrity of the building, I stand over them while they do it. Okay, thanks again for being with me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. When you share, which you have been doing, it really helps us. It helps us to support our channel, and we are still here after about 10 years of working. Thanks again. Bye for now.